In a dark future world where resources are depleted and the environment has deteriorated, governments deal with the population growth crisis in different ways. In Spain, the government has begun to take harsh measures to curb population growth. Killing children has become common in Spain and other countries. In this context, we follow the story of a couple trying to escape from Spain, which no longer has a future. They hide in large containers on board ships. The couple seeks to reach another country where they can build a new life. But when they reach the man who will lift them onto the deck of the ship, he demands more money from them after they have paid all their money, except for their wedding rings. So he took off their wedding rings and took them. After that, they entered the container that would be lifted onto a truck bound for the port, and from there to another country to start a new life. There were a limited number of people in the container they were in. Everyone was comfortable and had enough space. The passengers include families with their children, and there were also pregnant women alone. They are trying to escape the hell that their country represents. Ida was pregnant and very worried about her daughter. 2 days have passed without her feeling her move, but her husband Nick tried to reassure her and told her that everything would be fine. Ida is surprised by Nick's behavior, as he was acting completely calm, even though death could be staring them in the face at any moment. But she knows he's trying to ease their suffering. Then they turn towards another man who was listening to the news and seeing what was happening on the screen. The whole country had become homeless, and conditions were very difficult. However, anyone who tries to object to the kidnapping of children is beaten and insulted, and even if they continue to object, they are killed. The number of soldiers was large. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Then they woke up to movement in the place. They knew that their container was being moved to a truck bound for the port, and while they were watching the container door open, many people entered. Nick, who was trying to reach his wife, couldn't. After the container was full, the man ordered the people to be divided into a second container, but Nick tried to convince them that his wife Ida was inside the container, and he was also with her from the beginning, but they took him by force to another container. Ida tried to call him from inside the container, but Nick was far away and could not hear her. The container entered. Ida tried to memorize its shape well. Then she called him again, reassuring her that everything would be fine. After that, the truck set off from one village to another. They saw the revolts that were taking place, where the soldiers were kidnapping children and assaulting people. The scene was terrifying. In the end, they reached an ambush. The ambush stopped the truck, and they heard the soldier's voice asking the man for the container's papers. The soldier asked the man to open the container. At that moment, Ida saw her husband's truck arrive. As for the soldier, when he entered, he found the container completely empty. He turned around a little, but found nothing, then left. Another soldier entered and reached the end of the container, then fired towards the side, and the bullet came out from the middle of it from the outside. The soldier realized that there was a hidden part in the container, so he entered it again and knocked on it and said, "I know you are here and you must come out and I will not kill you all." He tried to convince them that the situation was not right and that he had orders to shoot, but he did not want to do so. Ida was scared. She tried to hold her breath. No one noticed her when she climbed into the box. At that moment, before the soldier ordered the shooting, a woman came out, so the soldier laughed at her and shot her between the eyebrows. The soldiers ordered the container to be shot. Everyone died in a hail of bullets, but Ida was in the ceiling of the box. Not a single bullet touched her. They took the bodies and left. Ida found herself alone in the container as the truck started moving again. She thanked God, but was worried about her husband. She sent him a message telling him to hide because the soldiers had killed everyone. A short while later, Ida felt the container being lifted into the air. She knew then that she was at the port. The container was loaded onto the ship. Ida tried to contact her husband, but she couldn't. After one day at sea, the ship was caught in a severe storm. Ida tried to call for help from people outside, but to no avail. The ship was swaying from right to left. Due to the storm, the container was also swaying, and so was Ida, until she completely lost consciousness. When she woke up, the storm had ended. But at that moment she realized through the holes she was looking through that the container had fallen into the sea, and there was nothing around her except for some other containers that had fallen from the ship. Finally, she noticed a sound coming from afar. She looked through another hole and found her husband's container sinking due to the heavy weight it was carrying. Of course, the container cannot be opened from the inside, and whoever is inside dies by drowning. Ida was trying to contact her husband, and the phone was ringing, but as soon as the container sank, she heard a voicemail. Thus, she was certain that her husband had drowned with the container. Fortunately, she had some water and some sandwiches with her, but the problem was that she didn't know how long she would stay at sea. Ida started opening the boxes, but unfortunately, she didn't find anything useful that she could use. All she found were some empty plastic cans, a large box full of vodka bottles, a box with headphones, a screwdriver, batteries, and other tools. None of these things were useful at the time, and since her husband had died, she was seriously thinking, about suicide. But at that moment, the fetus kicked her stomach, and she knew that her daughter was fine, contrary to what she had thought. A little while later, her husband called. Luckily for her, he had gotten out of the container at the port and hadn't boarded the ship at all. She told him what had happened to her and that she was alone inside the container. He told her to wait until he found a way to save her. Don't lose hope. Things may take a different turn. After a while, she found herself in another storm. The container was swaying right and left. To make matters worse, her daughter wanted to come out, so Ida had to give birth to her. The storm passed, and she found a battery-powered lamp. She stood on the box and used a screwdriver to make square-shaped holes in the ceiling. After a while, the food and water ran out, but she found that rainwater was dripping from the holes she had made in the ceiling. She started filling the plastic cans with water and continued to do so for a long time, but she was suffering from a food problem. She used a sharp tool to cut the iron until she injured her hand. Finally, she used a strong rope to bend the iron, and she finally saw the sun. As for the food problem, there was endless fish in the sea in front of her. She took a rope and an iron stick and started using them as a spear, but to no avail. So she started using the phone's headphones to make a net. She actually started catching fish. Of course, she didn't have the luxury of grilling the fish with salt or anything like that, so she was eating it plain. Don't give up in the face of challenges. The next day, Ida heard the sound of a plane. She broke a display screen from the boxes to get a reflective surface to signal the plane. But as she was getting out of the container, she injured her foot on a sharp edge of the ceiling. Despite this, she managed to send the signal, but unfortunately, the plane didn't see her. Luckily, she had a lot of alcohol with her, which she used as an antiseptic. As time passed, water started to rise inside the container, and Ida didn't know how to deal with it. Then, her husband called. He told her he was sorry, and that she would have to survive on her own. He had tried to save her, but had failed, and was now shot and dying. He was calling to say goodbye. A day later, the container was on the verge of sinking. The following day, Ida built a raft from the wood of the boxes to stay afloat. Just before the container sank completely, Ida noticed a seagull perched on it. This was an important sign. Ida felt hopeful that she could follow the direction the bird was flying to reach the shore. After some time on the raft, she lost consciousness in the middle of nowhere. Her daughter managed to survive alone. A family on a fishing boat in the middle of the sea found her. They noticed seagulls gathered around something, so they went to see what it was, and found the baby's box. They also noticed the net made of phone headphones that was holding Ida in the water. They pulled her out and performed CPR for a long time, until she was breathing again. Ida knew she was safe and was reassured when she saw a small child on the boat, clearly living a normal life. The world was good to him. This meant that she had reached a shore or a country that did not kill young children. Are you ready for the next movie? Subscribe to the channel to be notified as soon as it is published. Don't forget to activate the notification bell. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.